Coming up, highlights of the last debate between Governor Andy Beshear and Attorney General Daniel Cameron.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 11.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. A final debate between the candidates vying for the Commonwealth's top job. The Kentucky debate was held tonight at the WKYT studios in Lexington. Democratic incumbent Governor Andy Beshear went head-to-head with Republican opponent Attorney General Daniel Cameron. While discussing various topics impacting Kentucky, there were some tense moments. Grayson Passmore has some of the highlights.
Not been hit this year.
In the final debate before voters head to the polls, incumbent Democratic candidate Andy Beshear and Republican Attorney General Daniel Cameron debated key issues like Kentucky's economy, education, and abortion. Governor Andy Beshear started off the debate touting economic advancements in the state.
We are coming off our two best years for economic development in our history. This administration set a record $27.5 billion new dollars invested in us, invested in Kentucky.
When asked about the state income tax, Beshear said he would not totally eliminate it. Cameron continued to promise to do just that, saying he believes it's necessary to battle rising costs.
Inflation is rocking your wallet and is killing your savings. It's more expensive to buy groceries, gas. It's more expensive to buy everything.
The two again went back and forth on their plans for education. Beshear says he wants to invest in the public education system by giving an 11% raise to school employees across the board.
My opponent supports vouchers, which would take money from public schools and send them to fancy private schools, tens if not hundreds of millions of dollars sucked out of a system that already has such challenges.
When repeatedly asked, Cameron would not say whether he supports school vouchers. He instead described a 16-week after-school and summer school program to address gaps in education.
And you're going to hear the governor in his rebuttal talk more about vouchers. But you, the parent tonight, I want you to know that in the Cameron catch-up plan, we're going to catch your kids up on the disastrous decision that Andy Beshear made to shut down our schools for nearly 2 years.
Another question repeatedly asked tonight and throughout this race is whether each candidate would support an abortion ban that includes no exceptions to rape or incest.
No child should ever have to carry the child of her rapist.
Well, I've said repeatedly that if those exceptions were brought to my desk, I would sign them.
In Lexington, Grayson Passmore, WKYT.
And we have more about the debate on WYMT.com. A popular election denier, Mike Lindell, is encouraging his supporters to sneak a Wi-Fi monitoring device into Kentucky polling places, as he believes the device can help detect and uncover election fraud. But Secretary of State Michael Adams disagrees. The Kenton County Board of Elections has already voted to disallow these detectors at polling locations, and county clerks want to remind voters to follow state laws or risk prosecution, as violators could face jail time.
You are allowed to bring your cell phone to the polls. You are allowed to take what's called a ballot selfie. You are allowed to take a picture of yourself with your ballot if you like. It's the First Amendment. You get to do that if you wish.
Secretary of State Michael Adams. Now your final chance to request an absentee ballot is 11:59 tonight. You can do so at govote.ky.gov. The Secretary of State's office welcomes and encourages the public to come witness the testing of voting machines ahead of the election. It's done in all 120 counties. In Kentucky, voting machines are not allowed to have internet connectivity. It was a law passed in 2022 and co-sponsored by Buddy Wheatley. He is a Northern Kentucky resident and Democratic candidate for Secretary of State.
The amount of election denying or conspiracy theories related to this all have been debunked and all have really no evidence in it. And, you know, and as an attorney and as somebody who was a former firefighter who looked for those things that were hard evidence of something, we don't have that.
Voting machine vendors do vary from county to county, but each vendor must pass strict federal and state guidelines before they can be used. To national politics now and developing out of the U.S. Capitol. Late tonight, Republicans chose Congressman Mike Johnson of Louisiana as their latest nominee for House Speaker. This comes hours after another nominee, Representative Tom Emmer, abruptly withdrew his bid amid opposition from former President Donald Trump. Johnson is the fourth candidate Republicans have now nominated to replace Kevin McCarthy, who was ousted 3 weeks ago. It's still unclear if any Republican nominee can unite the party's hardline and more traditional factions to win the gavel in a floor vote. A man was convicted of shooting and injuring the Norton, Virginia police chief back in 2021. 38-year-old James Buckland of Pound, Virginia, was found guilty of several charges after a 3-day trial in Wise County. Buckland shot Norton Police Chief James Lane 5 times in his police cruiser when he was responding to a shoplifting call near Walmart. Buckland was also shot and injured. He will be sentenced in January and faces up to 2 life sentences plus 11 years. A Kentucky broadcasting legend is dead. Sue Wiley, who was WLEX-TV's first female anchor and one of the first in the state, died tonight following this car crash in Lexington. Wiley worked for the NBC affiliate from 1968 to 1998. Wiley also hosted a show on WVLK Radio, where she retired from in 2013. She was inducted into the Kentucky Journalism Hall of Fame in 1999, among many other honors. Sue Wiley was 90 years old.
We are tracking some cool and calm weather across the mountains as we close out your Tuesday. Those temperatures at this hour are cool, but not as cool as last night. Most of us right now in the middle to upper 50s and a few lower 60s as well, down to 63 for Pikeville, 65 in Jackson, also 63 over in Somerset at this hour. On the radar, we are still dry, but notice clouds do continue to increase as we go into tonight, and that will help to keep us not as cool as we wake up on Wednesday. Lows back in the middle to upper 40s and some lower 50s as well. So again, you may need the jacket on your Wednesday morning commute, but not as chilly as your Tuesday morning commute as you wake up and walk out the door. But more nice and dry and mild weather is on the way on Wednesday. We are back in the middle to upper 70s by tomorrow afternoon, but possibly some upper 70s and lower 80s later on this week. All those details coming up in just a few minutes. Steve?
Cameron, thank you. A bipartisan coalition of more than 30 state attorneys general have announced a federal lawsuit against Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram. Attorney General Daniel Cameron is part of the coalition, joining Kentucky with 32 other states. The suit alleges the tech giant deliberately engineered its social media platforms to be addictive to children and teens to boost profits. Lawyers representing states from California to Maine say that action contributed to a youth mental health crisis. 2 Middlesboro students are enrolled in a program through the Massachusetts Institute of Technology this fall, or MIT. Aiza Ahmad and Kayla Heck are taking a class called Girls Who Want to Learn Many Interesting Things. Ahmad says they were quick to accept the opportunity, and they are going through the program with peers from around the world.
Because there's girls from all over New York and like Hong Kong. It's a bunch of different places, and we get to talk. And a lot of us don't even know a lot about biotechnology, but we're just learning together.
The program will last through mid-December. Administrators say there will be future opportunities with MIT as well. One Pike County school is working to construct a tiny house, celebrating its 8th build since the program's inception. The Phelps Area Vocational Program is working on another tiny house with students taking the semester to learn and build. Those involved with the program say it teaches students more than just carpentry, using each tiny house sale to fund the next build.
How to schedule, how to stay on schedule, what the responsibility is of being expected to do something, and they really do a good job.
Students say they are excited to build this year's tiny house and see where it ends up. Coming up on Mountain News at 11, the Red Cross partners with One Southern Kentucky Fire Department to hand out free smoke detectors.
Plus, more mild weather is on the way before some chilly weather by next week. Your forecast coming up after this break.